DJ Akademiks just dropped what looked like receipts, and within minutes, the entire rap internet was in panic mode. Was Pooh Shiesty really locked back up just months after touching freedom? Did he violate parole with guns and lies to his PO? Or did the feds quietly move him in a way nobody understood? I've got the full breakdown. Let's get into the night the streets thought Shiesty got knocked again. On January 12, 2026, at exactly 7:21 p.m. GMT, Akademiks posted a screenshot that shook the game, straight from the Federal Bureau of Prisons inmate locator. The details were chilling. Name, Trell D. Williams. Register number, 524-90509. Age, 26. Location, RRM. Release date, April 11, 2026. To anyone who knows how the feds move, that RRM tag with a future release date looked like one thing only: violation. Snatched back up. Game over. The post exploded instantly. Nearly 10,000 likes, 700+ replies, 1.5 million views in just hours. The comments were ruthless. People joked that Shiesty caught a drop first day out, and last day out too. Others started digging deep, pulling lyrics from his comeback song, pointing to bars about weapons, asking if he had really been self-snitching on a Billboard hit. But here's the part most people missed. The rumors didn't start on the 12th. They actually began a day earlier. On January 11th, during a live stream with one of Shiesty's people, someone called in talking about police activity. No names were said, but everybody watching connected the dots. Group chats started buzzing. Twitter went quiet, then loud. Did the feds pull up? Did 12 run in his spot? Was he already playing with his release conditions? And the reason it felt so believable is simple. Pooh Shiesty's story already had history. Born Trell Donnell Williams Jr. on November 8, 1999, Shiesty came up in South Memphis's Cane Creek Apartments, a place where street rules get taught before school books. His father was already in the music world, running Mob Ties Records, so Shiesty grew up surrounded by both rap and real-life consequences. Everything changed in 2020 when Gucci Mane signed him to 1017. Then came Back in Blood with Lil Durk. That song went nuclear. 200 million YouTube views, top 15 Billboard Hot 100, every car, every party, every block. By early 2021, Shiesty wasn't just hot, he was one of the faces of the new generation. And then the law caught up. A sneaker and weed deal in Florida turned into a shooting. Security footage, a McLaren, cash spilling onto the pavement. Then another incident in Miami. By mid-2021, the feds hit him with serious charges, the kind that come with life sentences if you roll the dice at trial. Shiesty took the plea, 63 months, federal time. But good behavior shaved the sentence down, and on October 7, 2025, he stepped out early, not fully free, but released to community confinement. That distinction matters. When Shiesty dropped First Day Out, it hit #1 on Billboard's Hot R&B and Hip Hop chart. Fans celebrated. Video showed money, friends, energy. But then, the red flags. Live streams where it looked like he was lying about his location. Aggressive moments with fans. Lyrics that didn't sound like someone on strict federal supervision. And here's the truth people forget. Federal supervised release is not regular probation. There's no grace period, no warnings. You lie to your PO, you're gone.
Intent shown in that document. There's no words that were said. There's no pointing of the firearm at anyone. Essentially, what the document says and what the witnesses said on that day is that the defendant was being escorted out of the club. He reached for his pockets, looking for money in his pockets. A weapon was pulled and it was fired at the ground. And after it was fired at the ground, allegedly the ricochet or whatever happened was one of the either security guards or an employee of the club was struck in his ankle.
But the prosecutors wasn't trying to hear all that. They painted a totally different picture.
What happened here was the defendant was angry because the victim in this case, who was a security guard, told him to put away his gun. He then grew angry. He pointed the gun at him and shot him. The victim specifically states in the arrest warrant that he had to move out of the way. He was directly shooting at him. The only reason he got shot in the ankle was because he jumped out of the way at the last minute. This happened in front of a club full of people. There's video of the defendant with the gun in his hand.
So when that BOP screenshot surfaced, it didn't feel fake. It felt inevitable. But then, the plot twist. At 8:33 p.m. GMT, Akademiks posted an update. Shiesty's label reached out, and everything flipped. He wasn't rearrested, he didn't violate parole, he wasn't back in federal custody. So what really happened? Here's what the internet misunderstood. The Residential Reentry Management, RRM, program is still BOP custody. When Shiesty was released in October 2025, he wasn't fully free. He was transferred to community confinement, home monitoring, strict rules, ankle tracking, and federal oversight. That April 11, 2026 date, it was always there. That's his full sentence completion date, not a new arrest. The screenshot wasn't proof of a violation. It was proof of how the federal system quietly works and how fast misinformation spreads when fear meets history. Bottom line, Pooh Shiesty didn't get knocked again, but the scare showed how thin the line is between freedom and a cell when the feds still got your number. And in hip-hop, perception moves faster than facts. Here's the part the internet completely misunderstood. That BOP listing never changed. It wasn't new, it wasn't updated, it wasn't proof of a rearrest. That page had been showing RRM Dallas with an April 2026 end date ever since Pooh Shiesty was released to home confinement back in October. Nobody noticed because nobody was checking. The federal system lists everyone on home confinement under their supervising Residential Reentry Management Office because technically they're still in federal custody. They're still serving time, just outside the walls. One violation, they can be sent right back to prison. That's why the listing looks scary if you don't know how the system works. Shiesty himself eventually clapped back on Instagram, dropping a blunt comment dismissing the whole thing. Can't tell the internet dumbass nothing. Crude? Sure, but also understandable. Soon after, XXL Magazine confirmed with sources close to the situation that Shiesty was still in Dallas, still under a halfway house and community confinement program, with 0 new charges and 0 violations. That alleged raid people swore they heard about on the live stream? Either misunderstood, exaggerated, or about someone else entirely, but definitely not evidence that Pooh Shiesty got taken back in. So then the question becomes, what about all that proof people were so confident about? This is where things get uncomfortable, because it forces us to look at how narratives get built online, not on facts, but on assumptions.
It's like these cliques of rappers, because right now it's weird in Atlanta, it's getting weird for everybody else. Why? That's all their homies. Like that's the cool crew. So I thought that when the whole F the streets thing was, kind of transpiring and going around social media and hip hop, who I felt should be the last person?
Take the lyric everybody kept replaying. Fully ARP still sitting on the counter. That's a rap lyric, artistic expression, protected speech, unless prosecutors can prove he actually possessed that weapon, which they clearly couldn't. Lyrics alone do not equal a supervised release violation. Rappers have been saying violent, illegal, exaggerated things in music for decades. It's part of the genre, and one bar by itself isn't grounds to violate someone federally. What about that live stream where it looked like he was lying to his PO? When you slow it down and remove the viral captions, the situation gets a lot less clear. We don't hear the full call, we don't know his exact movement permissions, we don't have confirmation from the BOP that any violation occurred. What social media treated as a smoking gun could just as easily have been a misunderstanding or something that was still within the rules of his confinement. Even the incident where he snapped on a fan? Bad look, rightfully criticized, but not illegal. And unless his release conditions specifically restricted speech, which would raise serious First Amendment issues, being rude or disrespectful is not a federal crime. What we're really looking at is a perfect example of real-time social media hysteria. One unclear moment on a live stream, mixed with a rapper's past legal history, combined with a misunderstood government database, then amplified by a major media figure like DJ Akademiks, who shared it before full verification. Within hours, it became fact, except it wasn't. It was a chain reaction of incomplete information that felt true because it matched what people expected to happen. And that's the deeper issue. People were ready to believe Pooh Shiesty violated, not because of proof, but because the narrative already existed that he was moving sloppy, conflicted, and struggling with supervision. Akademiks himself had talked about this before the rumor ever broke. Shiesty seemed caught between two worlds, trying to show growth and responsibility, while still proving he hadn't gone soft. And that contradiction isn't unique to him. It's everywhere in street rap, especially for artists on supervised release. Think about the impossible position that puts them in. You're being monitored by federal authorities, while also being expected to maintain the street credibility that makes your music successful.
Saying f the streets. Now you are the streets. You're saying fuck yourself, right? Chat, again, this is why I'm looking at the street news and I'm like, why are they saying this shit online? I am the streets. 2 weeks ago, the streets. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. But exactly.
You have to sound fearless, but act rehabilitated. You have to rap aggressive, but live carefully. One slip, lyrical, verbal, visual, can be interpreted as evidence. 20 years ago, a rapper could come home and move quietly. Now, every live stream is a potential violation. Every bar gets screenshot. Every Instagram story becomes part of a permanent digital record. That December outburst didn't just happen. It got clipped, reposted, analyzed frame by frame. In another era, it would have blown over in days. Now, it follows him forever. Which raises a bigger question. Can the traditional street rapper even exist in today's media landscape after doing time? The very things that make street rap compelling, the rawness, the aggression, the violent imagery, are the same things that create legal risk. But if you clean it up too much, fans say you switched up, say you're fake, say you left the streets. There's no winning move. Look at Back in Blood. That song's power came from how real it felt. No metaphors, no distance from violence, and that authenticity made it a hit, but it also made prosecutors' jobs easier. The music became evidence, street credibility became conspiracy. Now artists are expected to stay dangerous in music without ever touching danger in real life. That contradiction is unsustainable. And finally, the media. That January 12th post got 1.5 million views before the correction came out. Most people never saw the update. They just remember Pooh Shiesty got locked back up. False memories stick harder than corrections because failure, arrest, and chaos get more clicks than stability. Rapper rearrested goes viral. Rapper still complying with federal supervision doesn't. And in an attention economy, speed beats accuracy every time. So what does all this really mean? It means Pooh Shiesty wasn't rearrested, but it also means the system he's navigating between street culture, federal supervision, and social media is almost designed to make him fail in the public eye.
Most of the things that street niggas abide by or adhere to or do not make sense. So this idea of no snitching, yeah, it sounds great. It's like a rule. You know, this, if don't do this. All right, cool. Sounds like a good rule until you realize that the majority of people have ignored in a majority of street.
And every bar he spits, every move he makes, every word he says will continue to be debated as either reckless or real, because in today's hip-hop landscape, authenticity isn't just art anymore. It's evidence, depending on who's watching. That line aimed at Bronny James, "Yo daddy a killer, but you ain't, you just like Bronny James," sparked instant backlash. People accused him of dragging a non-rapper into hip-hop beef, crossing a line that didn't need to be crossed. But from Pooh Shiesty's perspective, it wasn't personal, it was bar work, a pop culture reference everyone understands, a clever comparison meant to land, not to start a war. And this is where the real problem shows up. Because Shiesty is navigating an impossible situation with no good options.
Street niggas go on podcasts to argue and debate what they're, yeah, I'm going to tell you why I ran down on him. It's usually a logical thing. But they go online to explain themselves that the consumer...
He's under federal supervision until April 11th, 2026. That means every move, every word, every lyric, every live stream is potentially being monitored and evaluated by people who have the power to send him right back to prison. At the same time, he's a commercial artist. Rap doesn't wait, the game moves fast, and artists who disappear or stop being controversial get forgotten. And on top of all that, he's a street rapper. His entire brand, his entire credibility is built on projecting an image that might be fundamentally incompatible with the rules of successful supervised release. That contradiction is the trap. DJ Akademiks is absolutely right here. The smart move would be to stay quiet, make music, avoid street debates, avoid loyalty tests, avoid controversy altogether. But how do you suddenly become calculated and silent when your whole career was built on being outspoken, defiant, and unfiltered? That's not just a strategy change, that's an identity shift, and it's way easier to recommend from the outside than it is to execute when it's your freedom, your career, and your future on the line. What makes this situation even more revealing is how clearly it exposes the gap between how the federal system actually works and how the public thinks it works. The confusion over RRM Dallas, community confinement, and rearrest showed how little people understand supervised release. Most people don't realize you can be released from prison while still technically being in BOP custody, still heavily restricted, still one violation away from going back behind the walls. That lack of understanding creates the perfect environment for misinformation to explode. And once a false narrative catches momentum online, facts struggle to catch up.
Street songs, it's the highest debut rap song in the last couple of months. You're doing good, brother. Don't speak on it. Even if, again, here's the problem. You could stand in solidarity, and this is why, the rap game confuses me.
So looking forward, the real question isn't whether Shiesty was rearrested. It's whether he can make it to April 11th, 2026, clean. First day out proved he still has serious commercial power. The audience is still there. The hunger is still there. But can he keep that momentum while navigating the tightest rules of federal supervision? Can he avoid behavior, real or even just perceived, that fuels rumors and speculation? And even if he makes it through these final months successfully, what lessons does this leave for him and for every other street rapper watching? That January 2026 false alarm might end up being a wake-up call, a reminder that the internet is always watching, always waiting, always ready to believe the worst, especially when the story feels believable. Shiesty's comment, "You can't tell the internet, dumbass, nothing," sounds reckless on the surface, but underneath is frustration and resignation, because once a viral narrative is out there, no amount of explaining fully erases it. What we're really witnessing isn't just one rapper's situation. We're watching a much bigger conflict play out in real time. Hip-hop authenticity versus federal supervision, street credibility versus legal survival, social media narratives versus actual reality, in an era where everything is recorded, everything is analyzed, and everything can be weaponized. The streets are watching, the feds are definitely watching, and the internet is always watching. And Shiesty is stuck right in the middle, trying to stay real enough to keep his career alive, while being careful enough to keep his freedom intact. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, click one of the videos on your screen to keep going. More stories, more context, more truth behind the headlines.